Thank you very much, dear Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, in this room and around the globe on the net. Okay. I think it's pertinent to give a little view back to our wonderful talk by Patzel, okay, about the glacier going forward and backward. And in the middle, in the worst period of Little Ice Age, it is 17th century. How much did sea level fall? 10 centimeters. Good to know. Okay, I will talk about the Kattegat Sea as a test area, because there are test areas on the globe about sea level changes. People talk and talk and talk, but reality is not in television, it's not on the newspaper. It is in the field, of course, and you have test areas. For example, we know that Holland, Amsterdam is going down. We know that Sweden is going up, and Norway and Finland, and we can calculate them. Then I have an excellent expedition in New Caledonia, which I will give you some insight for. Okay, how do I, there. So next one. Okay, 3 test areas, the Kattegat Sea, the Stockholm area, and North Sea coast. There are reasons for choosing these 3, and I take them one by one. For this is number 1, the test areas. Okay, we have the uplift cone and the subsidence trough. I have the Kattegat area here, and the zero, that is the zero isobase. It has been zero for 8,000 years. So it's, of course, a wonderful place to go and say, what sea is doing today, it must be pretty close to the eustatic component of Northwest Europe. We have the Stockholm area that we have a long tradition, so we can check it. And we have Cuxhaven, Amsterdam, and Brest. I will have some discussion about that too. Okay, first of all, the Kattegat area, where we know the uplift, and this area is 0. Okay? And then we have a lot of tide gauges, and we can check them, and you have the values at the other side. So it's about 0.9. You cannot escape it. It's really very good value. And then if the Kattegat, yeah, these are the values here, tide gauges, the component of relative sea level, the component of absolute uplift, and then the eustatic component. Okay? So that is easy to calculate, and that's a test area, and you cannot fiddle with it. So we go to the Stockholm area. Stockholm area has the longest tide gauge, the second longest, and the absolute isobase is 4.9 millimeter per year. It has been so for 3,000 years. And superimposed on this is, of course, the eustatic changes. So in the last period, it's a relative sea level fall of 3.8. Everyone can subtract this from that, and it gets 1.1. So 1.1 is the absolute sea level in the Baltic, and nothing else. And then we go to the North Sea region. Cuxhaven is subsiding very much. No, this is yes, this is the relative sea level. This is the absolute, in this case, subsidence, and that is the leftover component of. It's a mistake here. It's not be 1 there. It should be, of course, 0.05. So the eustatic component in this area is 1.1 plus and minus 0.5. So it's about the same as the others, 1.5. And you cannot escape it. So then I have a message to COP24. Regional eustatic component in the North region is a modest rise of plus 1.1 millimeter a year. you can allow for a margin of error of about 0.2. So say 1.1 plus and minus 0.2. That is the message to those who are going to talk in Poland next month. If you at the COP24 meeting claim higher values, you are simply wrong. And you shouldn't claim this because it's against science. Okay, we are finished with the regional sea level studies, and I go over to new data from New Caledonia. This is New Caledonia, and the red points where I was working. And it's an atoll, so it's a fantastic area. There is no volcanic rock in the middle or so it is more or less stable. And this was my sea, and this was my research station. It was a lovely time. Here is the very famous cliff, which no one had any elevation of, so I made a leveling here. And of course, this is the last interglacial beach, and a fantastic rock cut platform, and underneath here is the Holocene. And the Holocene you can undercut. And then you can see there's a little bench here. There's a little bench here. So it's a little lower, it's high tide level. It's a little lower than the bench. So something has happened in some recent time. Now comes some interesting thing here. This very nice rock cut platform. It is fresh. It's not eroded and not weathered at all. This one, which is another rock cut platform at 150 centimeters height, about high tide level. It is very strongly weathered. This is not strongly weathered. And then you have the present undercut. It's important to have this plus 70. It's not recent, but it's sub-recent in geological terms. If you go to another place, this is the beach where you walk along. And there's no difference between this beach and this beach. It's a continuation. Okay? And here they have fossil caves and fossil shore cliff. And this is the present one. And it's 17 centimeters between them. And this is over and over again around the island. And it comes a message. And of course, this is easy to correlate with the plus 70 shore level in Fiji, which was properly dated to the 17th century. Okay? We had 70 centimeter higher sea level in the 17th century. It means during your little ice age. Okay, so how could this be? It's completely nonsense. High sea level when it should be low sea level. So we have to explain that. And we can do that. But you have to think in other terms than the thing in the book or in what you heard before. But that is why you always, even to the end of your life, even when you are inside the coffin, you knock and say, there are new observational facts in the field. Okay. And then we go to this present undercut and the bench here. Look at the bench here. The high tide doesn't go there. You can see from the coloring. This higher, it's lower, it doesn't reach it. And it has happened something. Because above it, you have stalactites. Stalactites, if there would have been waves, should have been washed away immediately. So it is left. It's older. So it's about 20 centimeters fall in sub-recent time. Then, and this is interesting, you can see this huge beach, and if you look at this, this is the present shore. Not so long ago, the washing limit of the sea went here. The washing limit. The high, the waves, and here you have the new washing limit. So the sea has not risen. It has gone down 5 centimeters. This level is 5 centimeters higher than that level. And this was taken when I was there. This is from a Google map of 2016. So it's at least 2 years old. And it's added here. You can see this. What does it tell you? What does it tell you? For sure, sea level is not rising. Because this is so delicate. This is the most delicate zone on the shore. And immediately the waves would have washed it down. So this is a fantastic thing to say, no, whatever the other guys say, it's simply wrong. They haven't been in the field. And this is much, much superior to tide gauges, which have their own problems because of the location. Okay. So, message to COP24. I read it. Sea level changes are not at all as it's being claimed by the IPCC. There is no scientific base for claiming that sea level is rapidly rising and maybe even in an accelerating mode. The globe changes are dominated by rotational eustasy, a modest rise in the north, stability in the equatorial area. The driving force is planetary beat on the sun and the Earth-Moon system. CO2 should simply be left out as a direct or indirect driver of sea level changes. So what people say, you know, sea is up and down, up and down. I say, no, sea is up and down in the other, up and down. And what are those? It is because Earth rotation and some sort of super lunar tidal cycles. So now we go into general global, well, I'm in time. Oh, it's not so bad. I'm talking fast, by the way. Glacial eustasy, a summary, is a dominance of rotational eustasy and lunar tidal super cycles, 60 years, and the grand solar maxima and minima, about 200 years or so. Driven by planetary beat on the sun and on the moon system. So, first of all, we have, I have to choose side. This has been presented before. The sea level changes in Bangladesh, Goa, Maldives, and Fiji Island. As you can see, there is a high level here in the 17th century. It's a low in the 18th century, high again. And then in all of them, there is a change in sub-recent time, 1950, 1960, 1970. So now we go here. You saw this one, the plus 70 beach. I just showed it. Of course, it goes in here. There's no doubt about it. You see the left, this left bench here. Where does this belong? It belongs here. And the bench itself, which needs a lot of energy. This is, of course, this period. Long period of cutting. And then it was left here. And there is beginning of a new bench here, 40 centimeters below. Because there's a high and low tide. And this change here, from the present washing limit to the past washing limit, it comes in here, right in the sub-region. But it proves that sea is not rising in the area. So that is quite nice. And again, you know, I have coined these things, but it needs to be added data. And that's why I left suddenly and went to New Caledonia. There has become a new diagram, which was very badly shown, but if I turned it upside down, it's much easier. It is so there's 709 atolls in the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. plus if they are, minus if they are decreasing in size, and plus if they are increasing in size. And you can see the vast majority is stable. If there would be a sea level rise, they would be decreasing. There's almost no rise in that. You can cut it off. And down here, increasing sea level would fall. And this goes to this diagram of mine, which is in Encyclopedia of Coastal Science. So, of course, sea goes this way, and it goes this way. In this way, there is no changes at all, which documents exactly what I've been saying. So going back to this, we have a moderate rise here. And Tom will talk more about this area. In all the Indian Ocean side, in all these sites, I have stability or no rise. And then, how could this be? You go back, there must be some sort of lunar tidal super cycles. Okay, we are here, and maybe in the future, we come here when we go into new ground solar minimum. And this was the case here. It's even, and you can see even 50, 70 high here. So these changes are real. But how can they be driven? Only by this tidal system. Only if the sun, the planet beats on the sun at the same time as the moon and the Earth-Moon system and the sun. And the sun is the solar winds, goes into the magnetic shielding, geomagnetic Earth rotation, which is the driving for atmospheric circulation, ocean circulation, and of course sea level. And the same here, Earth rotation, ocean circulation, and sea level. So this was what I read long ago, solar grand maxima. The rotation slows down, the Gulf Streams flush to the north. It gets warm here and high sea level. At the same time, sea level fall here. It is in the 18th century. On the contrary, it's ground solar minima. Rotation of the Earth speeds up, not from internal process, but from external forces. It means from planetary beat on them. Gulf Stream goes this way, so it gets warmer here, though it gets colder and less sea level here. But here it's bent down, so it increases here. Sea level falls in the north, sea level rises in the equator. This is the 17th century, when we now should be another plus here, where from New Caledonia. So that is, so to say, a simple model. And it may have something to do with the thermohaline pump. Not the long pump, because the long pump takes lots of time. But when we had little ice ages here, we had high sea level here, and high sea level. This is the remarkable thing, but we can explain it. And when we had warm conditions, we had low sea level here. Just opposite, but we explain it in this way. And you can also have a diagram like this. Ground solar minima, which were those periods. And we will have another one here, which one should go away there. So it is cold here, it's warmer here, and it's warm in this area. And with the ground solar maxima, it's warm and nice here, and we look forward to this place, but we will have this place in the near future. And here it's negative, it's cold and low sea level. Here we have, once we have a warming here, we have low sea level here. Isn't that funny? Isn't that nice? Planetary beat affects the sun which affects luminosity, which goes here, and especially this is the solar wind, the planet Earth itself. But the gravity may also change both directly on the planet Earth and on the Earth's moon system. This affects those which goes down in the ocean circulation wind, which affects it. And for sure, we have sea level. We have it in ENSO, super ENSO. We have it, no doubt, in the 60-year cycle. And what I've been talking here is the ground solar cycle. We know this because the most important cycle in geomagnetism is the 60-year cycle. And that cannot come from inside. It comes from outside. And outside, we know what it is. It is Scafetta's beat of Jupiter and Saturn. It's just fantastic. So when we are talking, the things I talked about to you, we go back, you have to explain it by those motions. So I have this circulation, very important. The wind, of course, which is also driven by geomagnetism, as Busha showed long ago, with pressure and wind. The jet stream, that is Piers Corbin is talking very much about it. And the cloud formation, that's of course Svensmark. And then the direct luminosity. I don't think one should say 1, 2, 3, 4. It's of course all of them working together. Most people love to have one factor, and especially for their own factor. I have this factor, but I'm surely saying that all these factors work. But in sea level, this is the dominant factor. And the dominant factor is important. And it was important that it was dominant for the last 500 years. And so it is. But for those which meeting in Poland soon, they don't understand anything of that. Ocean oscillations, these oscillations. The previous figures illustrate the generation of oscillation. Pressure, gravity, and rotation, ocean circulation. The 60-year cycle and ground solar changes in shielding provide firm evidence of the simultaneous interaction of solar wind with the Earth's magnetosphere. Ground solar cycle also generate lunar tidal supercycles, changing the thermohaline pump, which is important, I think. But this is the system which operates. There is no place for CO2. We should have a big garbage pan somewhere where we put CO2. But it's nice for the flowers. Message to COP24. Watch out, much of what you are claiming falls well outside the frames of realistic sea level changes in the pink field of nonsense. Here. Do you see frames? We must work as scientists within frames. We have the frames of physical laws. It takes time to melt ice. Okay? You cannot say that ice melts within minutes or so. Patzel showed that 10,000 years ago we had temperature as today. And in our region in Scandinavia, 9,500, the present values was reached. Still, and sea level was 20 meters below. It took 5,000 years till sea level was at the present. That gives you an impression of the time of ice melting. At the previous year's Nobel Prize dinner, they had beautiful ice cones on the table. Okay? And they didn't melt in 6 hours, despite the heat, transpiration, and alcoholic thing. So that's remarkable. So the person who decorated the table, he or she knew the physical law of ice melting. But these idiots which are writing papers about sea will rise within a few weeks, or especially it will by 2100 be meters. That's absolutely nonsense. So it's left out. And the other, accumulated knowledge. Up, back again. Back again, thank you. Okay, back again. No way I would want to back. Could you go back one? I have 8 minutes left, you see. Could you go back one? No, back. Yeah. No. How can I do it on the things? No, I cannot do it. Yeah. Okay, fine. Accumulated knowledge. Yeah, I have presented to you accumulated knowledge. Rotational Eustasy. We have always to expand this. And then observational fact. Yeah, we have always to go out in the field to get better and better data. And then, of course, ethical principles. God, ethical principles. You know. Wow. There are things you can say and there are things you shouldn't say. But those people here, which I address, they are in the pink field of nonsense. Okay, that was it. And then now I'm ready. Finished. Many thanks for listening, dear sisters and brothers of climate realism. Thank you.